गुड मॉर्निंग 10th क्लास। आज बेटा मैथ में 12 चैप्टर की डीजी करेंगे। ठीक है, कौन सा चैप्टर हमारा? एरिया रिलेटेड टू सर्कल। ठीक है, देखो इसकी डीजी ये
We've seen how to find the perimeter or circumference of a circle. We've also seen how to find the area of a circle. How can we use these formulae to find the diameter of a bicycle wheel if you know the number of revolutions the wheel makes when traveling a certain distance? Similarly, how can we find the area of each of the 5 scoring circles of an archery board? Let's explore the solutions to these and other such questions. A bicycle wheel makes 3,000 revolutions when traveling a distance of 9 kilometers. Find the diameter of the wheel in centimeters. One revolution is the circumference of the wheel.
देखो ध्यान से।
We've seen that the distance traveled in one revolution is equal to the circumference of the circle. Therefore, the total distance traveled by the bicycle is equal to the product of the circumference and the total number of revolutions. Note that the diameter of the wheel is twice the radius. Therefore, we substitute 2 times r with d. Since we have to calculate the diameter in centimeters, let's convert 9 kilometers into centimeters. Then we simplify and thus find the diameter of the bicycle wheel.
हाँ मैंने इसे कैसे सम किया? इसमें हमने उसने जो आपका साइकिल का व्हील था उसने कितने इसके राउंड लिए, तो पहले हम उसका डायमीटर आपको दे रखा है, तो क्या निकालेंगे? पेरीमीटर सर्कमफ्रेंस। क्या है फार्मूला? 2 पाई आर। जितना उसने डिस्टेंस कवर किया उसके साथ हमने उसको मल्टीप्लाई कर, पाई डी भी कर सकते हैं, 2 पाई आर भी कर सकते हैं। ठीक है, तो आपको किलोमीटर को किसमें सेंटीमीटर किया? सेंटीमीटर में कन्वर्ट करके आपका जो डी फाइंड आउट कर, तो कितना आ गया? 95.4 सेंटीमीटर। ठीक है जी, आपकी बुक में भी सम है, ध्यान से देखें इसको, अपनी नोटबुक पे भी कर सकते हैं। अब हम करेंगे एरिया ऑफ सेक्टर, सेगमेंट। ठीक है, माइनर और मेजर का, ध्यान से देखें इनको।
Do you know that the circumference is the longest arc of a circle? A circumference, in fact, is made up of arcs. For example, the circumference of this circle is made up of arcs PQ, QR, RS, and SP. In other words, if we add up the lengths of all these arcs, we get the circumference of the circle. When an arc of a circle is bounded by 2 radii, they form regions called sectors. The smaller sector, which is lesser than a semicircle, is called minor sector and its corresponding arc is the minor arc. The larger sector, which is greater than a semicircle, is called major sector and its corresponding arc is the major arc. Similarly, when an arc of a circle is bounded by a chord, the region between the chord and the arc is called a segment. The smaller segment, which is less than a semicircle, is the minor segment, and the larger segment, which is greater than a semicircle, is the major segment. Let's learn how to find the length of an arc. The area of a sector and the area of a segment.
ध्यान से इनको सेक्टर कहते हैं, माइनर और मेजर का ध्यान करते हुए आगे सम।
This is a circle with center O and radius OC, which also equals OD. Angle COD is the angle made at the center by the arc CXD. We know that the angle made at the center by an arc is the degree measure of the arc. Now, let's draw another circle with center O but radius less than OC. We name the arc as PYQ. Notice that the angle made at the center by the arc PYQ is angle COD. So the angles made at the center by the arcs PYQ and CXD are the same. Now, let's say we cut these two arcs and compare their lengths. As you can see, the lengths are not equal. So, even though the degree measures of both arcs, that is, the angles made at the center by the two arcs were the same, their lengths differ. How can we then find the length of an arc? Let's find out. Let's consider the circumference of a circle to be c units. Thus, the circumference is an arc of length c units and the arc makes an angle of 360 degrees at the center. Now, we divide the circle into two semicircles. So, the length of the arc is half the circumference of the circle and the angle made by the arc at the center is 180 degrees. Let's take the ratio of the length of the arc to the circumference of the circle and the ratio of the angle of the arc to 360 degrees. As you can see, the ratios are the same. Next, here is a quadrant of a circle. The length of the arc is now 1/4 of the circumference of the circle.
ये देखो आपको क्वाड्रेंट बन जाए तो आपको कौन सा एंगल बन जाता है 90 डिग्री. हाफ सेमी सर्कल हो जाए तो वो आपका एंगल है 180. ठीक है, जो आपको 1/2 से शो किया. तो वही हम सेक्टर बन जाता तो हमने उसका एरिया फाइंड आउट. देखो कैसे इनके.
And the angle made by the arc at the center is 90 degrees. Once again, we take the ratio of the length of the arc to the circumference of the circle and the ratio of the angle of the arc made at the center to 360 degrees. Notice that both ratios are the same. Similarly, when the length of the arc is 1/8 of the circumference of the circle, the angle made by the arc at the center is 45 degrees, which is 1/8 of 360 degrees. Thus, the ratios are the same again. So, the ratio of the length of the arc to the circumference of the circle is equal to the ratio of the angle made by the arc at the center of the circle, which is represented by theta, to 360 degrees. Thus, the length of the arc is theta over 360 times the circumference of the circle.
ये हमने क्या फाइंड आउट करना है? लेंथ ऑफ आर्क जो हमारा सर्कमफ्रेंस में होता है. सर्कमफ्रेंस 2πr. हमने देखना कितने उसका लेंथ निकाली. तो लेंथ में आ जाएगा एंगल बाय 360. ओके.
Now, if we know the angle made by the arc at the center and the radius of the circle, we can find the length of the arc by applying the formula. We substitute theta with the measure of the angle made by the arc at the center and put in the value of the radius of the circle. Then we simplify and thus find the length of the arc. Now, if you know the length of the arc and radius of the circle, can you find the measure of the angle of the arc made at the center?
ध्यान से ये आपको सम दिया. फाइंड द measure of the angle of the arc made to the center. ठीक है, आर्क दी 8.8 सेंटीमीटर, रेडियस 4.2 सेंटीमीटर. ठीक है, क्या फार्मूला लगा? 2πr थीटा बाय 360. जो हमारे पास वैल्यू है हम उसको वैल्यू पुट करके हम इसको आगे कर सकते हैं. ठीक है, ये देखो आपका आंसर. 8.8 से हम इसके थीटा हमारा कितना आ जाएगा? 120 डिग्री. देखो सभी ध्यान से. नेक्स्ट area of sector.
We've seen that the length of an arc is a fraction of the circumference. In the same way, the area of a sector is a fraction of the area of a circle. Let's consider the area of a circle to be a square unit. Let's see if the ratio of the area of a sector to the area of a circle is equal to the ratio of the angle of the sector to 360 degrees. When the sector is a semicircle, the area is half of the area of the circle, and the angle made at center is half of 360 degrees, which is 180 degrees. As you can see, the ratio of the area of the sector to the area of the circle is the same as the ratio of the angle of the sector to 360 degrees. Next, this sector is a quadrant, and its area is 1/4 of the area of the circle. The angle of the sector is 90 degrees. Again, you can see that the ratios are equal. Similarly, when the sector is 1/8 of the area of the circle, the angle of the sector is 45 degrees, which is 1/8 of 360 degrees. The ratios become equal again. Therefore, the ratio of area of sector to the area of the circle is equal to the ratio of the angle of sector, represented by theta, to 300.
यहाँ इसमें देखो जितना हमने सेंटर में एंगल फाइंड आउट कर, ठीक है, तो अगर हमारा 4 पार्ट में डिवाइड हो रहा है तो 1/4, क्योंकि एंगल जो है वो हमारा 90 डिग्री हो जाए। अगर 8 में तो हम इसको 45 जब 1/8 में कर, 360 को 8 से डिवाइड करोगे तो वो 8 आएगा 1/8। तो हम उनसे एंगल हम निकाल सकते। तो एंगल से फार्मूला πr स्क्वायर, क्या कैसे करते हैं?
Thus, we get the area of a sector is equal to theta over 360 times the area of the circle.
ठीक है, ये आपका एरिया ऑफ सेक्टर का फार्मूला 2πr स्क्वायर थीटा बाय 360, πr स्क्वायर थीटा बाय 360।
Let's look at an example. A sector makes an angle of 135 degrees at the center of the circle. The radius of the circle is 7 centimeters. Find the area of the minor sector.
क्या आएगा आपका?
We use the formula theta over 360 times the area of the circle. We put in the measure of the angle at the center and the value of the radius and simplify. Thus, we get the area of the required sector. The area of a sector and the radius of the circle are given. Find the angle of the sector.
ये क्या आपको दे रखा? The area of a sector, एरिया दे रखा, रेडियस ऑफ ए सर्कल, हमें क्या फाइंड आउट करना? एंगल। तो क्या फार्मूला? πr स्क्वायर थीटा बाय 360। तो वहां से हम एंगल फाइंड आउट करेंगे। एंगल कितना आएगा? 120 डिग्री। ध्यान से देखिए 132 पाई, ठीक है, तो एंगल और आपको दे रखा 36 सेंटीमीटर रेडियस। उससे हम इसका एंगल की वैल्यू निकल आएगी हमारी 120 डिग्री। देखो ध्यान से सभी। नेक्स्ट, area of segment.
In this circle, AB is a chord.
Area of
Let's see how to
segment.
find the area of the segments formed by the chord. We'll join OA and OB. Observe that OA and OB are the radii and they form a sector along with the arc APB. Notice that the area of the minor segment of the circle is equal to the difference between area of the minor sector OAPB and area of triangle OAB. Similarly, the area of the major segment is equal to the sum of the area of the major sector OAQB and area of triangle OAB. Let's take the radius of this circle to be 6 centimeters. Length of chord AB is 6 times the square root of 3 centimeters.
साइड दे रखी है
And the
आपको।
angle subtended by the chord is 120 degrees. Now, to find the area of a segment, we need to know the area of the sector and triangle OAB. We know how to find the area of the sector using the formula.
ये बेटा आपका 120 डिग्री, लेकिन 120 डिग्री तो आपके अभी सिलेबस में है नहीं है ना। तो हम अगर 60 हो तो हम इसको आगे सॉल्व कर सकते। ठीक है, 120 जो है वो आपके इसमें सिलेबस में इस बार नहीं है, कट है। और अब हम करेंगे एरिया ऑफ कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ प्लेन फिगर। ठीक है, जो हम शेडेड का एरिया निकालते हैं उनका देखेंगे इसमें। देखो सभी, अभी ध्यान से एरिया ऑफ कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ प्लेन फिगर।
How can we find the area of this plane figure? One way to find the total area is to split the figure into known or familiar shapes. Look closely. The fencing of a part of a circular park needs to be replaced. The distance from the center to the fence is 66.6 meters, and the angle made by the broken fence is 140 degrees. Find the cost of the fencing material required if the cost is 5 rupees 20 paise per meter.
ध्यान से
We first need to calculate the length of fencing material required. To do this, we need to find how much part of the fence needs to be replaced. In other words, we need to find the length of the arc of the circle. Next, we put in the values for the measure of the angle and radius and then simplify. Thus, we find how much part of the fence needs to be replaced. This measurement is the same as the length of fencing material required. So, we multiply the length of material required by the cost of the material per meter. Thus, we find the cost of the required fencing material.
देखो क्या किया इसमें, पहले हमने लेंथ ऑफ आर्क निकाली 2 पाई आर थीटा बाई 360। जितनी भी हमारी वो लेंथ निकली, कॉस्ट हमने टोटल कॉस्ट निकालनी थी, उसको हमने 5.2 रुपीज़ से मल्टीप्लाई कर दिया, तो हमारा आंसर आ जाएगा 846.56। तो ये बेटा आपके कुछ सम थे जो हमने इसमें आपको माइनर, मेजर, सेगमेंट, एरिया सबके इसके बारे में आपको बताया। सर्कमफ्रेंस और एरिया ऑफ सर्कल, जो सर्कमफ्रेंस है वही आपका आर्क में आ जाए। ठीक है, तो आपने इनको ध्यान से करना है और ध्यान। ओके बेटा, हैव ए नाइस डे।